just found out that Chyila, the character...
Are you really gonna watch it, babe? Wow, right here in front of you, babe. You're really gonna just watch it in front of me?
I need my phone for the notes.
You're bad. Alright, I got it. Oh, you wanna play games?
I've been going down all the videos and liking them. I did.
Hold up, I would've grown all day. Hold up, somebody can't relate. Hold up, stay down with no faking. Go up, top down, I've been racing. Go up.
Hey, what's up, my beautiful kings and queens? My name is Chyila.
And it's your boy EK.
We are coming to you guys today with another royalty review for Lovecraft Country episode 8.
Jig-A-Bobo.
Yes, Jig-A-Bobo.
Yes.
And this episode, I have to say, it's fucking mind-blowing. I could barely take notes watching this episode. It was just that good.
Yeah, it took us literally like almost 2 to 3 times the time to watch the show. Like,
yes.
Jesus, it was so much unraveling. I feel like it's gonna be like this for the next 3 weeks because they're trying to like bring us to this antithesis and.
Yeah.
So we'll get into it. Before we do though, make sure that you go ahead, if you're here right now, go ahead and hit that like, hit that sub, and give us those praises. If you have anything to say, please drop it in the comments. Let us know. We love talking about the show. We love going back and forth and getting the information. So just let us know.
Yes, give us a thumbs up as well.
Okay. So the episode starts off, unfortunately, at the funeral of Emmett Till, who was the character Bobo. He's been in a couple of episodes now. Mm-hmm. As if you watched that last one, they mentioned that he was out on vacation.
Right.
So he was gone. Unfortunately, we all know what happens to Emmett Till when he goes on vacation to Mississippi. Mm-hmm. He meets his tragic end.
His untimely demise.
And so they come back. There's a whole bunch of people outside because maybe, as you well know, made the funeral public so that everybody could see.
And this wasn't the awake. No, this is the awake.
Oh, this is just the wake?
That's why. It was the awake.
So,
which lasted 4 days. The awake lasted 4 days leading up to the funeral. So it was tens of thousands of people there.
So, while they're all outside, Dee says she smells something funny. And you educated me on that earlier. Mm-hmm. Let them know what was going on.
So, right when the episode starts, a woman walks out and she immediately throws up. That's how I knew it was the funeral. Mm-hmm. Because it's very unsettling. But, long story short, if you guys ever watch an Emmett Till documentary, his mom talks about when she gets his body shipped back to Chicago and how the smell is just, you could smell it miles or blocks away from the actual funeral home. It wasn't something that was just around the funeral home. It was blocks down the road. The smell was just that bad. And the mom talks about that, how bad he smelled because he was found in water.
So basically that everybody's outside kind of dealing with this sad situation. The main characters of our show are close personal friends of Bobo. Mm-hmm. They know Emmett Till personally.
He's a kid that lives in the neighborhood. Everybody knows him.
Plays with D all the time. So he goes over that, and they're kind of glossing over how Hip hasn't came back from the portals and that Tick got sucked into last time.
Right.
So they kind of gloss over that.
And you can just visibly tell that Dee is distraught. She just lost her father. Her mom is missing. Mm-hmm. She's at one of her close best friend's funerals or awake. So you can tell she's just emotionally distraught. She's just mentally fucked up.
Yeah. So she's kind of like out of it. So she leaves the funeral and she comes across some girls she's standing in front of a arcade kind of thing. And she sees some other girls who come outside and they're laughing and they're having fun. And that irritates her. Because obviously, like we just said, she's so like out of place. She's like, how could you guys be finding fun on a day like this? And so she starts throwing rocks at them and screaming at them. So this is kind of where we start seeing how emotionally fucked up she is right now.
Right.
With all dealing with all the things that are happening in her life.
It cuts to the next scene, and the police is watching her, and she's walking down an alley, and they stop her. And when they stop her, he asks her about magic. Now, remind you, this is the same cop that arrested Letty and was throwing her in the back of the van, asking her questions about magic and do you know how she moved in. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, check out this video up here in the cards and you can go look at that reaction as well. So moving forward,
also it's the same cop from the other episode where he had the black body sewn onto him from arm to right here, and that guy who was dead or not dead or supposed to be dead and hanging up in his closet.
Right. He's like the captain or
he's the leader of the lodge in the city of Chicago.
Okay.
Christina is not supposed to be in the city. She lives in Artem. Wherever she came from was where her lodge was, and she's not supposed to be here without that cop's jurisdiction. He's the leader of the lodge in this city.
Right.
So he pulls up on D, and he has her comic book in hand.
Right.
Because in the last episode, Hippolyta left it on the scene, the crime, after she popped the cop. So she popped 12.
And they obtained the comic book.
So they have the comic book, and they're throwing it in her face, like, is this you? And, asking her about her mom. One of the cops is holding her, and the other cop starts writing symbols by her feet. Starts writing, like cryptic symbols and stuff by her feet.
Right. He wrote an X on her right and left side for whatever reason of her feet.
It was a little bit more intricate than the X. One of them was like a star. It was like an asterisk without it, and then the other one had some more intricate symbols. So then the cop who we just were talking about, I don't even know his name. We need to figure out that cop's name.
Yes, we will put it across the screen.
He starts speaking in the language of atoms and puts a spell on D where he spits on her hand and he touches on her forehead. He spits his fucking loogie on her forehead. It's gross.
He spits in his own hand, not her hand.
Yeah, he spits in her hand and then puts it on her head, though.
Yeah, you keep saying her hand. He spits in his hand.
Oh, I meant her head and his hand.
Yeah, he spits in his hand and touches her forehead, which is a nasty, slimy ass spit. It was disgusting. And then he's chanting something that's in Atom language.
Yeah, the language of Atom.
The language of Atom, and you could tell he casted some type of spell on her.
Right.
So after that,
that's when he lets her go, and that's when we see the Cream of Wheat eyes poster move, looking at D.
Yes, the eyes follow her leaving the alleyway.
So at this point in time, again, like we said, she wandered off from the funeral, so nobody knows where she is. Tick, Ruby, and Letty are all, and Montrose for the most part, is all looking for her, trying to figure out where she's wandered off to and where she's gone. Letty returns to her house to look for D, and Gia is at her house waiting in the living room. And
surprise, surprise.
All she says that we get to see at that point is, she asks, like, are you trying to move in? Are you looking for a room? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, I'm looking for Tick.
I'm looking for Atticus. She doesn't call him Tick. I'm looking for Atticus. So she knows, Letty knows that she knows Tick because she's calling him by his government when everybody in town calls him Tick.
Right.
So she knew something instantly.
So then it pans to Tick, because when everybody split up to go look for D, Tick kind of said he was going to go look for D, but really he was looking at his watch. He really was looking up. He was going to a secret rendezvous with Christina because he needed to know how to cast some spells.
Yes.
Basically, she kind of gives him some basic hints. Mm-hmm. She doesn't really tell him anything deep. She just shows him the symbol of protection, and she tells him to cast a spell. He's gonna need energy, intention, and a body.
Yes, to cast a spell. To cast his first spell.
Right.
So
he takes that to heart or whatever. He gives her the key that came from the orrery. Mm-hmm. And then he asks her a question about the autumnal equinox.
Which stops her in her tracks. Because as she's walking out the door, her eyes get big and she stops. So you can tell that either triggers something, or she was like, how the fuck does he know what that is? Or you could tell it does something to her. Because she was aware. It was
information that he shouldn't have known, or something that she was really trying to plan on doing in secret.
Right.
And she was like, oh shit, okay. So, again, after that, it pans back to D. Like I said, she's an emotional wreck. She doesn't know what happened to her mom. Montrose at this point is with her, and she
returns back home,
and he's with her, and he's trying to calm her down, and she's not trying to hear what he's trying to say. She's cussing him out about her mom. She's yelling at him about her dad. She locks herself in the bathroom, and it starts playing this song in there.
Yes, You better stop knocking.
Yeah, the knock, knock, don't let them in.
Yeah.
Starts playing this song. And so she's like kind of going through it in the bathroom. And again, we start seeing weird images when Dee's on the screen. The book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, at first is just a picture of a white girl and a black girl in front of a mirror.
Right.
But then the next time we see it through Dee's eyes, it's a white girl's head smashed into a glass with one of the little Jigaboo dolls, like, doing it.
Yes. And it was scary. It was really creepy. So she hops out of the window and the uncle comes in and the book is back to normal.
Right.
But Dee's gone.
Right.
Okay.
So then it pans over to Wiltina, Christina, whatever you want to call this guy. Ruby's trying to get back inside because she lives there. And, that's on the north side, and a white person sees her, and he's like, hey, are you the maid? And she's like, no, I ain't the maid.
I ain't the damn maid.
And, he starts trying to pull up on her because she's talking kind of uppity.
Right.
And he starts trying to get all up in arms and shit for no reason. Putting his nose and shit that's not even his business.
Right.
Luckily, William pulls up in time.
Right,
to
save
avert
her.
this silly shit that's going on.
Yes, William pulls up right in the nick of time to save her because she was afraid and she said he looked like a monster. So, and then the white guy mentions to William, well, you know what's going on downtown. I don't want any of that to carry on here in our nice neighborhood. So you could tell he didn't want any of the nigga problems with the Emmett Till to...
Right. Any of the animosity that people are feeling in their heart to be affected to him. He wanted everybody to be mad, but be mad on the south side.
Right. Don't bring that shit over here. Keep that shit over there.
So they go inside and they share... Ruby's in a real emotional place after this happened to Bobo because... Again, she knows Bobo. She's babysat Bobo probably on multiple occasions.
Right, seen him in the neighborhood.
Right, he's always in the neighborhood and stuff. They're all family. They all know each other. Like it's a close knit kind of community. Is from what I've seen from the beginning with the they knew that Letty and her were sisters and the whole block party they were throwing. We've had a couple block parties.
Right. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody.
Tree knows Sammy. Know everybody. Drink at the same bar. All that shit.
Right.
So.
We're still in the scene where they get in the house and Ruby and William are talking and they're like kissing and go ahead.
Yeah, basically they fuck and
she doesn't want to fuck as
a black woman, she takes the potion before they do and she turns back into the white woman. But then while they're fucking, she starts transforming back into herself and Right in the middle of them having sex. It's really, really disturbing. Right, she's like shedding and ripping and stuff. But satisfying at the same time. Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. I didn't understand her decision. So then after that, she came in, she came when she got up and got cleaned up because of course you got to clean up all the blood and all that and stuff. So basically that's kind of where the scene ends. At that point, it pans back to Tick, and he returns back to Letty's house, in his house, to see Gia there, and Gia and Letty at the same table. But before he gets there, he notices her shoes at the door, so he knows that she's there before he even gets in the house. Yeah, he knew something was up. He was like, "The chickens are coming to roost, Bobby Boucher." Yes. And so he goes in there, and they're not really chopping it up. They're kind of just sitting there staring at each other, really. Right. And it doesn't show anything. There. So it pans off again. It goes back to Dee, who's now still wandering around trying to get from point A to point B. Right. She just left her own house. She's on her route to Letty's house. She's on the train platform, and this is where she starts to see her first kind of like interaction with the enemy of this episode, with the monster of this episode. Right. And tell her what she sees. You really like that scene. I really like that scene. So basically she's standing at the train station and she's looking down like in like a dark hallway or something that leads downstairs, and she's looking and she sees these two girls. Well, first she sees one girl and they're like creepy looking. Their mouths are cut, hair, and just they have blood on their sleeves, like, for their forearms. So she's looking and they look really creepy and they wave at her. They let her know, yeah, we see you. We talking to you. And at that point they start dancing towards her. Like, it's weird because they don't run towards her. They don't walk towards her. They're dancing and just skipping and just having a good old time. And they're always doing like the Jigaboo house nigga shuffle dance. on their way to her doing a shuffle and the hop and clicking your heels and shit.
Yeah.
That's like their whole little motif. They're like little, they're both little Jigaboos, and that's why the name of the episode is Jigaboos, because it's after them. But it double played with Jig-A-Bobo because it was the death of Emmett Till.
Yeah, you did tell me that. Or it's been 15 minutes.
So, basically, so then after that, so she's
running
basically trying to get through the pier and when she's bumping into people, but they don't catch her. Pans back to Gia and Tick and Letty.
Yes.
Gia is there for, even to my known reasons, unknown. She's there just kind of like, you know, talking about how she's killed 100 men and, you know, when people climax, she's like, when my man climaxes, and then I kill him. I'm like,
my 9 tails come out, and I see his life in, you know, up until his death. And so they learned that about her. So
she's there, and she's to tell Tick that what she saw from her vision, because she never got a chance to tell him that he dies.
Right.
And so then he's like, okay, well, how do I die? And she's like, well, I'm not sure. And he's like, well, can you save me? And she's like, well, no, I don't know. And she doesn't really have any information.
She has no information at all. None whatsoever.
Basically, she just came to blow up Tick's spot.
Why blow up my spot? Because we both got hot.
And so Tick was ticked the fuck off.
Yeah.
And now he's yelling at her, basically, and Letty is pissed off because she's with child and she's mad because this new woman is popping up, and she knows that woman loves Tick, and that's why he didn't die and all this and that. So basically he's like, you know, you don't have any answers, you know, what we had wasn't real, get the fuck out. And he dips off and he runs upstairs and starts trying to
profess his love to Letty, let him know that he didn't know how to explain himself, so he kept it a secret. But she was pissed off because they had been through a lot, and he didn't say anything about it. So she was really, really angry. She started packing up his shit, and they're arguing and fighting, and she says something that triggers him, and he walks out.
Well, he says that he's gonna leave anyways because he's going to. He's talking about how he met with Christina. He's gonna go cast the spells. And that's when she starts trying to make him stay again. And he's like, no, I need to go do this to protect us, to protect me, you, the baby, everybody. I need to go learn how to do these spells and shit. So,
well, no, at this time, because he doesn't know that she's pregnant. He knows that she's pregnant, but she hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah, he doesn't say the baby, but that's what he means. He's like, I'm gonna protect us. Yeah, and he's doing all that shit. That's what he means, because he knows. Yeah, even though she hasn't told him, he knows.
Right, and she knows. Yes.
So then it passes over to Ruby coming out of the room after her and William has smashed, and William is now Christina again, and she's kind of emotional still over the whole situation with Emmett Till, and she's really pissed off because Christina doesn't give a fuck. Like, straight up, she just doesn't give a fuck.
No, she doesn't. And I'm not mad that Christina doesn't care. Christina was not out there protesting in anger or for the rights of black people at all. She was in her mansion, comfortable, okay? Right. She didn't give a fuck. And she made that clear, and I'm glad she was honest about it. And I don't know what Ruby expected. She came out the room staring at her with, like, these evil eyes, mad that she was Christina.
Right. Like she fooled her again or something.
Right. And then, like, just had so much animosity. And I understand why Ruby is angry. But my point is, she's taking it out on Christina, and Christina just playing her part like any other white person would.
Right. And I burn you. And like I said, like she said, I'm glad she just didn't lie because I knew she didn't give a damn. And she bursted her bubble kind of because she was like, you know, you fucked me as a white woman because you wanted to just do what you wanted to do, and you didn't want to feel like you had to be emotionally tied to the situation today for your people. So don't try to like shame me type shit. So she kind of shut her down, but. So then it pans over. Dee finally makes it over to Letty's neighborhood, and there's some white girls outside jumping rope. I don't know if that's an ode to anything. I saw in some groups that chats that it was an ode to like Elm Street.
That's what it reminded me of. That's exactly what it reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street when I saw them jump roping. And the song that they were singing, it just reminded me of that.
So yeah, so she goes over there, and she comes to Letty's house, and Letty's actually leaving to go follow Tick. To go chase Tick down. So she's not really worried about Dee or like trying to see what's wrong with Dee. She's just like, go call Montrose, go call your uncle because he's looking for you and we were all looking for you, but now that you're here, do the responsible thing. But as she's saying this, Dee is seeing the Jigaboos on the other side of Letty dancing up the street and shit.
She sees him dancing coming towards her, but something happens to her voice. She begins to choke.
Yeah, she starts choking when she tries to scream and
Yeah.
tell Letty what's going on. Letty's just like, hey, go inside and get some water, and she leaves.
Right.
Letty's obviously has some her own shit on her. Everybody has a lot of shit on their mind, and nobody's really telling to this kid how they need to.
Right.
So she's running through the grass on the side of Letty's house, and she finds Woody, the car her mom left there. So she doesn't really have hella time to process this or really speak on it, but she found the car there, which lets her know that her mom is super missing and not still out on her trip.
Right.
But it doesn't really touch on this, and I hope they touch on it more, or she says something about it when she comes out of her spell.
Yes.
Next episode. So that they continue to chase her and shit. Let's see here.
She jumps on her bike and she runs from them. She actually has wheels now. She's not running on foot anymore. So she's continuously running from the Jigaboos.
Right. So she takes off. So then it goes back to Tick, and he's like walking down the street past his dad's house or some shit, and he asks his dad. He's kind of having this heart to heart with his dad. He asks him, did he ever cheat on his mom? What else does he ask him?
He asks if he cheated on his mom, and then Montrose sits there for a second, and then Tick walks off. Then he said, I thought about it, I had urges, but I never acted upon them.
Until she was dead.
Mm-hmm, until she was gone. So
then he proceeds to tell this story to Tick about a pastor who got caught being gay with a man in the park, and the police came in and arrested him and put him in an insane asylum, and sawed out half of his brain, and basically was like, I chose to basically be alive and shit like that, so I had to live in the closet and have a seemingly normal life, so I don't get chastised and killed and shit.
Right.
So basically he tells that story to Tick. So Tick starts opening up to his dad. This is the first time he's opened up to him since he killed the siren, pretty much.
Right.
And he's telling him about that when he traveled through the rifts where Hippolyta's went missing, that
he went to the future.
Right, he went to the future.
Right. Saw
his son that Letty is pregnant with now. So he knows that's how he knows she's pregnant. And then the book that we thought that Uncle George wrote when we saw him jump out of the rift last episode was written by his son. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was a mind.
We saw his picture, and I'm like, that doesn't look like Uncle George.
No, we thought it was like a younger Uncle George, but I don't know how if it was from the future. But yes, that was a nice.
I wasn't putting it together too, and I was looking at Montrose, and Montrose didn't recognize him. Like, oh, I remember when we were younger. Recognize the person. He was looking at him like, the fuck, George Freeman, nigga, what? How? So basically, he drops that bomb on everybody. Then it shows Letty in the church, and she's praying, basically talking about how magic is like ruining her life, and it seems like it's the devil. And then Christina pops up due to her invitation.
Yes, she invited Christina. But before that, she's asking God to protect Tick. Mostly, she's praying for Tick because she doesn't want anything to happen to him.
So Christina pops up, and Letty has a proposal for her. She wants to trade Titus's pages for the ability to make Tick invulnerable. Right.
And she declines.
Right. And Christina says no. But she said she'll take the pages if she lets her make Letty invincible. Right. And at first Letty says no. But then she's like, all right, well, whatever. And she starts leaving. And then Letty's like, wait. And she comes up and she tells her to do it. And she does it real quick. Boom. Gets it popping. Yeah. And it burns onto her side. So now she's invulnerable. And she has the same thing, the same emblem that was on Williams' chest when we saw him fuck Rube for the first time. So then it goes back to Dee, and she's tailing the chief commissioner who put the spell on her. She's like following the police, like following them. She's like sitting outside the precinct on her bike. And the Jigaboos are working up the alleyway.
I thought that she was just waiting for the police to go by, but it now makes sense that she was tailing them. I didn't think about that. I thought about her ducking and hiding because she didn't want to run into them again.
No, she was sitting in the alleyway looking at the niggas, and there was all parked right there. Because I was like, why is there so many police? What is she doing? But she was, and I thought she was gonna try to creep around the corner, but she just sat there, and watched them. And so she was just watching them and stuff. So then it goes back to Tick, and he's with the dad discussing the book. And he's basically saying that that in the book, it says that Christina ends up sacrificing him to become immortal.
Yes.
And he said basically that whole book was about his life and everything. That there's enough similarities and there's enough stuff, you know, it's based on this life. And so he's starting to think, you know, this is how I might die. According to the book, that's how I die in the book, you know what I mean? Which is, you know, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So, so Dee's telling him, we don't know why she's telling the cop. We're just like, why is she telling the cop? So she goes in, bold as she is, busts in, kicks down the door of the cop into his office, straight up, heads up.
Straight up.
She asked him about his mom.
And she asked him, is my mom dead? And this fool said, probably.
Right. Then he was like, probably.
Probably. No remorse, no fucks given at all.
Right. Then she asked him about the jigaboos that he put on her.
Yes. And he's aware of the spell that he cast on her. And he tells her, I can remove the spell if you do something for me. Yep.
And he asked her to get the orrery.
Yes.
So she basically tells him no, and she tells him to fuck off, and she tells him to fuck you, and she spits on him. And I mean, like, really, she kind of bossed up on him. She really wanted her to spit in his face.
I wanted her to spit in his face just because of him. That slimy ass spit, that shit was disgusting. She should have right up in his fucking face. The ultimate disrespect. But then he probably would have wanted to break her little neck.
Yeah, he would have. Because he was already pissed that she spit on him. He was like, we don't need her anymore.
All right.
And then what she do? Then she bossed up on the Jigaboo outside after she left too.
Yeah, she decided to go head to toe. I mean,
heads up.
Yeah.
She just went zoof and zipped up on it.
So
then it goes to Tick and his dad, back to Tick with his dad, and they're trying to cast a spell, and he's trying to like get it translated, and he finds out his dad is dyslexic, which was a kind of a random ass fact to throw in right now. He's read so much for the team and done his own research so much. I feel like they should have thrown this in earlier.
Yeah, but dyslexia, it tells you, it shows that from his point of view is different, not just with reading, but how he sees shit in life too. It's not just with words on the page. It's how you see shit, and it's just different with dyslexia. So it just puts, I don't know, it's just kind of like okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So basically, Tick gets the symbol written in blood, and Montrose casts the spell on him, and seemingly nothing happens. We don't know what the spell does right now, or if it even works so far. Then it pans to Christina, and she's helping some guys take some shit to the pier, and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she turns around, and all of a sudden they start whooping the dog shit out of her.
They beat the fuck out of her.
They are beating her ass like a grown ass man, and her skinny ass is taking that shit.
Yeah.
Long story short, they put hands on her. They shoot her 2 times, wrap a barbed wire around her neck, toss her in the lake.
Yes, very graphic scene. Go see the episode.
Man, now. And then she instantly comes back out of the water, like within 10 seconds.
Yes.
Pops up.
Yes.
So that lets us know that her invulnerability is real.
Yes.
And this is the first time that we're actually really seeing that it's real. Besides the cop that the car flipped over, and besides when Tick couldn't shoot her. But those are just things that are like a barrier happening, but we haven't seen her physically take damage and recover. So now we know that Christina is the real deal.
Right.
Then Letty Letty is downstairs waiting in the dark room where she's developing pictures, where Ruby comes down. And she tells Ruby she's pregnant.
Yes.
And Ruby confesses to her that she knows about magic.
Oh, yeah. She knows everything. She knows what happened to Uncle George. She knows she followed him down to Autumn, followed Tick down to Autumn. She knows everything.
Yeah. So she's like, you know, basically she's talking about how Christina said that she's going to help her learn magic and stuff like that. And Letty's concerned that she's spying because she asked Letty to spy as well at an earlier date. And I think that Christina has Ruby fooled.
Big time. I think she turned me into a white lady. I was like, I don't know. I just think that she just has the wool pull over her eyes too hard.
She has her dickmatized.
Yeah, she's fucking her on one end.
William has her dickmatized. Man, and Christina herself is like, is just manipulating her with magic, trying to make her seem like this other thing is gonna be real, and
Right.
she's like building this whole fake life for her, kind of.
Right,
with
right.
letting her be a white woman and all this other weird shit.
Right, showing her another side of life she would have never seen if it wasn't for her. She's gonna teach me magic, really. She's
Right.
going to, why would she waste her time? But we'll see.
So then D is looking, so it pans back to D, and she's kind of getting ready. She's already had it up to here. Like I said, she's already kicked down the door of the police. She already bossed up on the Jigaboo, but now she's actually ready to fight them. She's looking for shit that she can use in her battle to beat the Jigaboo. During this scene, it's panning back and forth between these two moments, which is her doing that and panning back and forth between Letty and Ruby in the house.
Yes.
Because now they're coming upstairs because the police are knocking on their door.
Mm-hmm.
And they come out to the whole squadron of police in the front yard.
Yes. So the police arrived and they knock on the door. Ruby answers. She said, "Let me handle it. I don't want you delivering your baby in jail." So one cop just walks in, and the head cop tries to walk in, but since there's a barrier around the door, he couldn't get in, which instantly let Letty know he does magic, or he knows magic. So at that point, she shuts the door. They walk into the living room, and then
the cops just open fire on their ass. Blah, 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 blah. The whole force is just boom, lighting up their whole house.
multiple bullets.
I'm pretty sure
for a
somebody
long
got
time.
shot. I saw that one guy. He got hit in the leg for sure. I'm surprised Ruby didn't get shot. Now, I didn't notice this at first, but when I went back and watched it, bullets were bouncing off of Letty throughout this entire
Oh yeah,
scene.
she was laying down, and then she sat up, and then she had enough, and the bullets were bouncing off of her. I thought that was a really dope scene. She was like pissed off in the face.
So then, I'll finish. I'm gonna sum up the little scene with D because I want to end on the main scene.
Yeah.
So basically, D finds some shit and she starts beating the shit out of one Jigaboo. The other one's like looking for her around the corner, and like she's going hard, beating it. The other one kind of pulls up on her and she's fighting it. And then for the first time, we kind of see her through somebody else's eyes, which is Montrose's eyes, and she's just swinging in the air. There's nobody really there.
Right.
But when Montrose tries to go up to her and grab her and like let her know that nobody's there and try to console her because she's going batshit crazy, she starts bleeding and getting cut and scratched because the Jigaboos are there in her reality.
Right. And they're hurting her.
And
they're stabbing her arms.
they're ripping her arm up, and it's like
and it's
like,
creeping up.
Yeah, causing like necrosis and like neuropathy.
Yes.
Like,
go watch the episode.
So then it goes back to them, and Tick is actually he comes running up the street because he's coming to Letty's house anyways, but he hears gunshots, and when he gets there, like he sees the whole police force fired on his woman's house.
Right.
So he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like standing there, and he wants to go run up, and the cop tells him to freeze. And Letty starts coming to run outside because at this point she knows she's invulnerable.
Right.
So she's coming to save her man. Boom, to big chopping.
Yeah, she coming to save her baby.
But she doesn't have super speed, unfortunately.
I know.
And the dude lets off the bullet.
Right.
As the bullet's traveling, all of a sudden something comes out of the ground and blocks the bullet.
Yes.
And it's one of the vampire dogs from the first episode.
Right. With all the eyes on its back.
But it seems like a higher version, evolved version of them.
Right, because he can stay in the light. He's obviously not hiding from the light.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know, it seemed to have arms.
It was stronger, like it seemed like more solid and less slimy. And like she said, it didn't have a light sensitivity. It was out in the middle of street lights, car lights, all kinds of shit. So
he came in to protect Tick. He took that bullet for Tick and just started attacking police left and right.
Rips everybody to shreds, throws the car. He eats the main chief that puts the spell on D, which removes the person who said that they can't remove it.
Right, who can just lift it.
So now that poses the problem of who the fuck is gonna lift this lift this spell now. And now they're going to have to be trying to pander to Christina for her to do them favors when they already owe her favors and they're already trying to, like, keep secrets. But she's been playing them the whole time. She got the key and Titus's pages and Ruby. So I don't...
Do you think that D would have just stayed home, she would have even saw those Jigaboos?
If she would have not separated from everybody at the funeral in the first place.
Oh.
but he still would have popped up on her probably at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he probably did a spell to find her kind of shit. But
Mm-hmm.
long story short, the dog rips everything up, and then when they're gonna rip up Tick and Letty, the dog becomes submissive to Tick's hand.
Yes.
And that's how the episode ends. So, bruh, it was so hard to watch that episode and take notes. Please understand that we do it just for you. We were like, oh man, we gotta pause it, we gotta stop it. But there's so much. I had to go back and rewatch it because I'm like, damn, I missed some parts. I missed the cream of wheat guy eyes. I missed a couple of things because I was trying to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
I missed when Dee had grabbed that thing. I missed when she was like sketching out the pictures of them.
Sketching out the Jigaboos. I saw that, yeah.
But
it was just so much that happened in this episode. I stopped taking notes, like, at least like more than halfway through the show because it was just so much that was happening. I just closed my laptop. Yeah. I just closed my laptop and was like, fuck it, I'm watching the episode and we're gonna go off your notes tonight.
Yes. So it was so excellent, man. Thank you if you made it this far. Thank you very much.
Yes.
If you made it this far, drop down fucking Tick Son, # Tick Son George or something like that. I'll put a # on the screen for you so you can see it. If you made it this far, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Let us know what to watch. And as always, stay royal.
I hope you put the phone on Do Not Disturb. But it's 2 a.m.